PhD in Progress, episode 16. This week, we speak to Haley Oyer about identifying and treating mental health issues from a grad student's perspective. Let's go!
Time to go crazy. Welcome back to the PhD in Progress podcast, where we talk about your education, your career, and your life. I'm Jason.
And I'm Kelly.
And today we get to talk about mental health.
Things that drive you crazy.
Things that drive you crazy, nuts, up the wall, down the street, whatever. Right? And we have a special guest today. My friend, my dearest friend, one of my best friends, Haley.
Do I say now? Things?
You can say things now.
Jesus.
Off to a great
Jesus.
start.
All right. Nailed it.
Stuck the landing on that one.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Haley Oyer. I have mental health issues.
All right. That's the first
step.
First step. This is not 12 steps, so.
No.
Just a few steps.
I don't think there's a number of steps.
Thank you. It's ever going. It's an upward staircase.
Yeah, you have to keep working on it.
Infinite staircase. All right, so we have Haley here today to talk on mental health, and she's had some experiences in her life that that other grad students might have in common. I guess.
Okay,
delve a little bit into those, but first let's outline the episode a little bit. What we hope to talk about a bit is to maybe figure out signs and recognize the signs that you might be going through mental wellness issues.
Or your friends, or your partner, or
Perfect.
Anybody in your life.
Yeah, exactly. This is really important. The next thing is to be willing to utilize support that's available to you, and most universities have a really good system set up for this, and Haley might be able to talk about that a bit later. And lastly, and probably most importantly, is to remove the stigma. So I know when I was first hearing of mental health issues, I'm like, oh man, that seems like such a downer. Like, I don't know how to deal with that personally. I personally don't have that many, I don't think. Nothing nothing out of the ordinary. Out of the ordinary. I don't think I'm that crazy, but and when we say crazy, I should...
Oh, it's fine.
No, disclaimer for people who might be a little more offended than my best friend here.
Sure, yeah.
I only say that in jest. I don't think you're crazy. We don't think you're crazy, but this is something that most people don't have too much experience with firsthand.
Right.
To be able to talk about it openly, or if you are experiencing issues with your mental health, this is a time to think about it. So we'd like to remove the stigma behind mental wellness issues. Mm-hmm. All right? So first, let's talk about Haley's story. Haley, talk to us.
Hi. So I just got my PhD.
Yeah! Dr. Haley.
It took 2 weeks shy of 6 years, and that whole time was a pretty good mental health struggle. But mental health issues are not new to me. We had what our family describes as a hell year when I was 13. So pretty much for the last 16 years, I've been seeking therapy and using medication. And so it's not, this isn't a new problem.
Be louder.
Okay, sorry, be louder.
Yeah, be loud. It's okay.
Yeah, so initially I had to use some medication to sort of get over the hump of, when I describe depression, I think of it like falling into a well, because you sort of don't necessarily realize what's happening as it's going on around you, and I have a couple people in my life who are really good at recognizing it and calling attention to it and making sure I can see what's actually happening. So for me, I use therapy and medication to get over the initial hump of figuring things out. And then there was a long time where I was just relying on therapy to keep myself sane. And then grad school started, and I've been consistently using medication since pretty much month 2 of grad school.
Okay. So you're really aware of your situation before you started grad school? Were you?
Yeah. and I have a super supportive family, which I'm lucky to have people who also have mental health issues and can sort of see what I'm going through and sympathize and help me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, I don't know if you're willing to talk about it, but do you have specific triggers in your life or things that happened to you in the past that caused this to happen or causes it to happen continually?
I am not sure. I don't know if there's a trigger per se. Well, I guess stress for sure is, but I am not very good at managing my own stress, and when it gets to a certain threshold, then things just start falling apart. But I don't know, other than outright stress, what my triggers are.
Well, like what was this hell year? What happened?
Hell year. Yeah. So, my parents sat my brother and I down the day after Christmas and were like, okay, Grandma has cancer and we're going to go live with her. And John and I were like, oh, super. Dad's coming too. And they're like, no, we're also separating. So, so that probably could have been done a little differently. Although, I think going through that process as parents is probably hectic enough. So I'm not sure if they really didn't have a playbook.
Jeez, yeah.
And this is also coinciding with a close friend of our family had recently died of breast cancer. So it's two
people that you care about.
A death, illness, and then impending death of grandmother and separation of parents. So that set the ball rolling.
What, that's it? Come on.
Get better. What the hell's wrong with you?
Are you still grieving now?
Yeah, right. So, yeah, that set it off, and I guess...
But are those the issues that you continue to struggle with today, or is it different now?
Oh, I think it's different now.
Okay.
Because
so that just sort of caused the initial anxiety, stress, depression, and...
Right.
Now you just kind of...
Yeah, now just...
Things roll into that.
Yeah. Right, and then if people in the family get sick, it's like I can't separate the feelings of 13-year-old Haley from the feelings of 29-year-old Haley. It just get transported right back to a helpless kid again. So there's that.
Yeah, that's fun.
Now, what about grad school stresses you out?
What about grad school doesn't stress you out? So I think a lot of grad students also have, especially female grad students, have some degree of imposter syndrome. Like, you are absolutely certain your application is just got in the wrong pile. It was surely going to be a rejection, and then all of a sudden you're here at this top level university, and you have a huge amount of expectations, and your life has changed pretty much completely. When you go into Target, all the back-to-school things apply to you still. Like, what do you mean I need shower shoes again? So,
Sorry,
You're back. No,
I'm back.
We're glad to have you.
Hi, guys.
Love your
How's
seat.
it going?
Oh, man.
Squish, squish, squeak, squeak.
I didn't know if you were going to be able to make it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd ever see you again.
I know. School's gonna have to try a hell of a lot harder to get rid of me.
All right, Nico, you're going to have to be loud, because we
I will
actually
be
turned this
very
down
loud.
because we were so...
Too
Haley
raucous,
was
too
loud.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Your laugh projects out
Yeah.
over there.
Jeez. Yeah. Sorry.
So everybody, welcome back Nikhil. He's back from California. Been there for a month.
Yep.
Living it up.
Working a little bit.
Working.
Yeah. No, it was good. I'm glad to be back.
Good.
All right. Ready to talk about mental health issues?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, where are you guys at this point? In this
Haley was just kind of going through her...
Haley,
Instagram
tell her
stories.
story.
Started grad school and why that's stressful?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, why is grad school
Yeah, tell
stressful?
us.
Because you
We
have...
don't know.
I don't know if you guys have seen the cartoon about like what a PhD actually is, and it's like you start
that little...
that little scary diagram. So you start in the center, and as you learn more and more, the radius keeps building, and then you go into college and you start specifying and the radius now looks like a little shmoo.
Yeah, it's like a little bud
Shmooing out
out
in
of...
one direction. And then for me, that's biology. And then...
So for those of us that aren't biologists, what is a shmoo?
Oh, yeah.
yeah, right. So here's a
Turns out not
non-yeast
helpful.
person describing this. When some yeast divide, they form this little like bleb off of them where the daughter nucleus goes. I don't
Or
know.
no, the shmoo is for mating. So
Yeah,
it's
she's the
when
mating,
As if I have an idea. Of
yeah,
I don't
shmoo
know.
is for mating. When the two different mating types come close to each other, the one mating type projects out.
Yeah, like
Yeah, they kind of like kiss
little bleb,
almost.
yeah, to like
Okay. So you
Interact.
start as a sphere, and then
Yeah.
you get this little tiny bump,
Yeah,
like
you
a
start-
pimple.
Yeah, it's like a pimple, and then it just keeps growing as you specify and learn more and more and more.
Wow.
like
This is
Pinocchio's
And then
nose.
it pops?
PhD.
No. And then,
that keeps growing.
like when you start grad school, you're right at the edge, and there's a line around the outside of this radius that represents all of human knowledge ever. And then when you earn your PhD, you're supposed to just nose up your little pimple of knowledge on the edge of that and make one tiny little dent.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Creating
So
a
it's the
blemish
pimple
on
on the pimple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that, I'm like having a hard time talking about how anxiety producing that is, because you are peering into a microscope and looking at how life works, and no one's ever done it in the way you're doing it.
Yeah.
And
That's the whole idea.
That's
of the
the whole
PhD.
point,
It's,
yeah.
it's novelty. You're supposed to be doing
Right.
something that no one else has ever done before,
right,
and make it successful.
and make it successful and have it work and do it in a really rigorous way that you know you're doing it correctly. And the thought, I don't know, that's terrifying to
Yeah. I
know
mean,
that you're doing this and other people potentially are relying on the information you've found out.
yeah, because whole labs can be founded on
Right,
something
one
you
idea. Right.
found.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so there's the sort of like bigger meta aspect of grad school, and then you have classes, and everyone else knows more than you, and you wonder, like, oh my god, was I sleeping through all of my undergrad degree? How do these people know so much?
Oh yeah.
And you're rotating through labs, and then each lab is so different, and you have to meet all these new people and catch up real fast on the research, and then try to do research during a rotation, which is pretty much impossible. And then you have to choose the right lab, and choose a good project, and pass your generals, and then
Yeah, honestly,
work. Yeah.
Yeah, generals is the major
Oh,
Like some of
stressor
the
there.
most,
Gosh.
the biggest decisions you've had in your life, probably up until that point. It's like choosing a lab and your advisor and your project that you'll be doing for
Right.
like 5 years or
Yeah.
so.
7.
5 years or so. Or so is inclusive of
Okay.
12, depending on the case.
Yeah,
So, yeah, no
big
stress.
life decisions, and I think I did okay,
Mhm.
but you have no way of knowing that when you're making the decisions. And
But you managed.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of help.
Yeah, so let's talk about your support system a bit now.
Yeah, so I have 2 lifeguards, and that's my mom and my husband.
What is a lifeguard?
So these people recognize when I'm falling apart before I do. So one way I sort of think of depression is if you've got a pendulum and sort of a map below it of all the human emotions you can have, and for the most part, you sort of are right in the middle. Happy things that should make you happy are able to make you happy.
Puppies.
Yeah, puppies, all these great things, cookies right out of the oven.
Oh, God.
And then there's like a sphere of reasonable things that you can and should get upset about. But I think most people, I'm not sure how other people's brains work, are able to sort of temper all of that and remain pretty much centered. For me, when I'm not medicated, sort of the map of where the emotions sit under the pendulum shifts so that things that should make me happy sort of don't anymore, or not to the proper degree, and that everything else sort of gets colored with a, I don't know, like kind of a woe is me type problem that you can't understand what's going on, and why are these terrible things happening to you, and terrible in air quotes, because it's like, oh, your car won't start, that's life, that's not
But that sends,
it's not your fault.
But that sends you over.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, yeah. Oh man, there's a terrible day. I had driven into lab, and I was just sitting in my car crying, and our friend that you guys all know, he's now in DC, pulls up behind me, and I was on the phone with my husband, and I was like, Matt, all right, whatever, his name's Matt. Boy, did that not work.
Matt, I've got to call my husband.
Matt, Matt is my husband.
Oh.
Like, Matt, I gotta go. Our friend is behind me. I'm going to talk to him about science and how terrible everything is. So I hang up and like stumble out of the car, and there's like tears coming down my face. And our friend Chet is like, "Oh my gosh, what the heck's wrong with you?" And I was like, "I'm just having a terrible day." And Chet's like, "And this is the postdoc I'm giving a tour of the lab to today." So this other guy is like, his first view of Princeton is like a bawling grad student in a parking lot. It's like, oh god.
Welcome to Princeton.
Welcome. Put everyone through the mill. Yeah. So that was, I think, one of my lowest days. Yeah, but you can...
I can see it upsets you because your lip is even quivering.
It's not...
Yeah,
Not fun.
It's not.
It's not
It's not
fun.
good memories to bring back. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so let's drag those out of you.
Yeah. So let's keep talking about them.
Wow. So
What was the question?
Okay, so your lifeguards are your mom and your husband.
Yeah.
And they recognize.
They're like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, everything's fine, except I'm crying all the time. They're like, okay, I think, how about maybe it's time for you to see your therapist a little more frequently. Like, that's a good idea, thanks. And then, I have a therapist I see regularly and a psychiatrist. And the difference is the therapist is someone you talk to about your problems, and she knows my whole life story, and I've been seeing her since I was a first year. And the psychiatrist is the person who prescribes the medication. And you see them less frequently, but they know your whole story and know about your chemistry and get you on the right track.
Does the therapist say it's time for you to go see the psychiatrist?
I was in such a bad state when I entered sort of the Princeton's way of dealing with mental health issues. They were like, all right, you're going to need these 2 appointments right off the bat. Because you're struggling. So...
Do you feel like you've gotten, like, more self-aware about your own sort of...
I would like to think that, but still...
I mean, do you feel like you're relying on your lifeguards less over time?
I think, probably less,
okay.
but...
So I think that means that you are getting more self-aware.
Yeah, it still is not the point where I'm like, this is not comfortable.
Right.
I could change something.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you take that first step into accepting that you need help and seeking it?
So, in the context of life or grad school?
Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, but
Do they have to be? Yeah.
let's say this happens in your life while you start grad school.
Yeah.
What would you do?
So
What did you do?
Here, we're super lucky that we have a really good student health center, and they have a whole department devoted to mental health of their students, and it's undergrads and grad students. So you phone up, and they're super helpful, and they're like, okay, yep, we can see you right away. Come on down. And you meet with I met with a psychiatrist first, and they were like, yep, you're going to need outpatient therapy. And they sort of, it's going to sound weird saying it, it's kind of like a farm system. Like, you show up there first, and they triage you, and then just up the hill on Nassau is tons of therapists. So,
okay, so they recommended you to people up there.
Right.
Oh,
so
okay.
they have a huge roster of therapists that are within walking distance for students, and get you in contact with them, because they can't keep 40 therapists on staff to deal with everyone's craziness. So they send you up the hill, and it's all covered on the university insurance. But the first visit is always a lot of crying and what's going on, I can't figure this out. And they give you referrals, and they recommended that I start doing group therapy. There used to be a women's grad student group. I think it's just straight up grad students now for men and women. But, I mean, there's people in that group that I knew from the department, so it's like, oh, I am definitely not alone. There's people in the absolute same boat as me that need help. And all the women, it's kind of like the same story over and over again. Everyone's got some amount of imposter syndrome that it's frustrating to be in grad school because you feel like you're kind of treading water the whole time. You're not moving on with your life because it's
And so how did you decide to take that first step to go and see or call the number?
Oh, I was absolutely miserable, and mental health problems were not new to me, or
I see.
My mom or Matt, so they're like, I think you're really suffering.
So it wasn't like you were starting to go over that edge. You had gone over and you were like, I need help now.
Yeah, this is not good. I'm so miserable.
Which is probably not the best way to do it.
No,
but
if you can figure out before you fall into it, or that at least you're on the decline into it, that's better. And if you can see your friends or family or loved ones falling into it, don't let them get so far.
Yeah. But I guess sometimes maybe if it's your first time experiencing depression, it might be hard to convince that person that it's time to go get some help.
Right.
If they've never experienced it before, they don't know what the hell it is, and they're just like, I can fight this off. Like, this is fine.
Yeah. Right. So there's, and I mean, I still struggle with that, even though I've been taking medication all throughout grad school. I've tried with my doctors 4 times to stop taking it because I have a stigma against taking the medication myself, even though I know that I need it.
I think there's just a really broad misunderstanding of, like, this is a biological disorder.
Right. It is brain chemistry. You would never in a million years tell a diabetic, just get over it. Stop taking your insulin.
Yeah.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
keep your
No, it's the
pancreas
same thing.
into gear. It's like, I don't make enough serotonin.
I think that's where a lot of the stigma comes from.
Right.
It's like, because it's a mental thing, people think you should be able to, like, will it away.
Right, it's all in your
or
head.
just think, differently.
Right.
But it doesn't work like that.
Although sometimes, I mean, so I experienced some depression in high school.
Yeah.
And for me, it didn't really take, because I come from a family of hard asses that they're like, you don't need any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Damn right.
But it took, but all it took for me was also a change.
Mm-hmm.
I was having trouble with dealing with my softball coach. He was a terrible person.
Yeah.
And so, instead of going to therapy or doing that kind of stuff, I quit. I left. I was
one
like,
way to do it,
he's the problem. I see that that's the problem, so I'm leaving.
You're making me miserable. I don't want to deal with you anymore. Yeah.
So sometimes that's all it takes, but other times, it takes a lot more.
Sometimes you're related to the people that are making you miserable.
Well, and that's
That's
you
true.
can't cut them out.
That's true.
I think there's also, like, 2, categories, right? There's the sort of, depression related to people and or events and or, like, things in your life. And those are, like, triggers of that depression. But then there's also, like, this underlying, your center is off, right?
Yeah,
your
it's like you're
emotional
describing.
equilibrium is not balanced.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, and
those are different things.
they're different. I think both of those apply to me.
Right.
And when my husband and I talk about it, try not to say normal.
Because normal is
Yeah, right. It's like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if I'm outside the standard deviation.
No,
of
normal
brain
is a
chemistry.
distribution.
Right. Yes.
That is the worst.
He's got a little cartoon on his door in the building that says "normal is a distribution," and he has like a distribution drawn out on the door.
Yeah, that's
There's
perfect.
also a paranormal distribution.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
I didn't draw those. Somebody drew that on my door for me.
Nice.
But I didn't erase it, so that's okay.
Yeah, so there's some deviation from, I guess, normal brain chemistry that's going on. But...
So I'm curious about your experience with medication. Like, it probably, the thing about medication that really intrigues me is that we have no idea how it works.
Right.
Or, like, what the fundamental mechanism is underlying, these, SSRIs or whatever they might be. So I'm curious to hear your story about, like, finding the right medication. Did it take you a lot of different tries or, like, finding...
Yes.
Okay.
So it's, when I was younger, man, I don't even know when Prozac was licensed to treat adolescents. But Prozac was what I started with, and that some degree of success there. And then it's something that happens to people who take antidepressants is you do what's called cycling. Like it becomes, the drug is effective and it starts to lose efficacy, so you kick the dose up tiny little notches and you find out you're really just sensitizing your body to the whatever the new level is, and that it loses efficacy almost completely. So that's what happened to me with Prozac. And then I tried Zoloft and that worked better. And this was during high school, and I was able to eventually stop taking them for, I guess, into high school. I needed some help as an undergrad, and again, took full advantage of all the psychological and counseling services there, and of which there are many. Every university, I think most universities have them. And then in grad school, I think we started with Zoloft again, and transitioned into Effexor, which is, despite needing these drugs, I can sometimes not remember to take them.
I see.
And I don't know if that's some weird psychological thing I'm doing to myself, like, let's just see if you can do it a day without them. But Effexor has a really terrible discontinuation syndrome. It feels like you have the flu immediately.
Right.
Jeez.
So, and like, there's been times I've like gone away for the weekend and forgot my drugs, and it's like, this is terrible. So I eventually switched to Lexapro, because if you're an hour too late or you miss a day, it doesn't feel quite so terrible. So like, your neurons aren't all screaming, which is good.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
So when you finally find the right combination where you're like, wow, this feels right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But what feels right about it? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's like subjective, right? But that's
I
what
know,
wanna
but
get
like
at.
that's
Right. How do you
How do you
know
know?
you're not just numbing out the bad stuff, instead of bringing that pendulum back to center? And I guess since you have to figure that out for yourself, and you're not doing this on your own, there's the people prescribing the drugs and your therapist and everyone around you who knows what you're going through is going to be able to help you figure that out.
okay.
Like if you wrap your car around a tree and that's not bothering you, your dose is probably a little too high.
Wow, because you're looking for that excitement and stimulation.
No, because something bad is not registering as a true.
Oh, so the pendulum is
emotion.
swung too far to
Way
happy.
too far. Yeah.
And
Too much damping.
Right, yeah, too much damping. And in addition to depression, I have a little bit of mania, and
What is that?
man, I describe it, like, you can either swing way into everything's happy and great and you are incredibly productive and super focused, or everything's the worst and you don't feel like doing anything. And I'm not...
That's not like bipolar? It's something different?
Maybe it's a little bit of that.
Okay.
These are two words that have been used to describe me.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if they were interchangeable or not.
They're probably not interchangeable.
Okay.
I'm sure I'm not doing justice to the...
So does it seem
DSM.
like things are that your emotions are, you're just way more sensitive to a stimulus? Is
Right.
that-
Yeah, it's like you're oversensitive to it, and part of starting to take medication is you start dampening that back in. And for me, I'm happy to trade the highs to avoid those lows because they're terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like no contest. Just easily trade those.
I guess that's really person dependent too. Like,
Sure.
some people, like I know of someone who prefers not to take their medicine unless they foresee a super stressful thing happening in their future, like maybe I don't know, PhD defense or something like that, where they really have to focus and stay within a range in order to be active at all.
Right. So I also have anxiety issues, and there's a certain level of anxiety that is good, that's there, that has an evolutionary basis. Like, there's a lion on the horizon.
Yeah.
You correct.
Right.
Get out of that
Move.
scenario. Yeah. But then there's some amount of anxiety that for me I find absolutely crippling. Like you can make the list, or sometimes you can't even make the list of things you're supposed to be accomplishing. And you just get in this circular argument of, there's too much to do, I don't have enough time, I better go do something else that's not this, and then you just keep getting frustrated because you lack the ignition to start whatever the task is that's giving you anxiety. But because you are not starting, that's giving you more anxiety.
So, I mean, like, a lot of us struggle with things like that in general, who don't necessarily have mental issues. So,
man, yeah.
Sorry, I ain't calling it mental issue. What should I call it?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Or it doesn't matter to me.
I know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't mean this to be insensitive. I just don't know what better to call it, listener. So, sorry.
Right.
But mental issues, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah.
People struggle with these motivational things, or, having a bad day in lab, and you get depressed.
Yep.
Not clinically depressed, but you get depressed. So, I guess the question is, the things that motivate me to do my lab work, would they be similar to the things that motivate you to do lab work if you're on drugs? Or on the medication? Like, does medication make you more normal distribution like? Or do you need some other kind of mechanism?
Well, like when I'm medicated, my motivations for doing lab work are get the stupid thing done so you can graduate and get on with your life, which I think is probably a lot of grad students. Right. So it doesn't totally change that motivation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I have the right dose.
But when you're not on your meds, there is no motivation, or different things motivate you?
No,
or
it goes into no motivation of, man, there's, this happened one day, my advisor was like, this is not acceptable. I had a huge experiment, and it failed like at 11 o'clock in the morning, so I took like forever to go get lunch, and then I went home, because I was so effing cranky. And the next day, my boss was like, I'm going to need to see you. I'm like, okay. So it quickly devolved into me crying. And the point is, I shouldn't be doing that because it sets a bad example for the younglings in the lab. That if your experiment works, or if your experiment fails, don't, just go home and give up entirely on the day, on the effort. Because then you're never going to get out of here. You have to sort of double down and keep doing it. And despite having that conversation, that still doesn't mean you're immune from needing things like mental health days. You're just like, nope, I can't do it today. Yes, there's definitely a balance.
I've done that before. I've never been scolded for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say my advisor's too hands off to tell me.
Yeah, she was pretty in tune to what was going on. And I have 2 advisors, which is a complicating factor of grad school, and both of them know, I trust them both, and they both know my mental health issues. And I'll bet that's probably not the case for every grad student or boss or whatever.
How did that conversation go with you?
I think I was at a really low point, and they're like, but it's like my productivity just plummets. They're like, it's just this quick thing. What's going on in your life that this isn't getting done? It's like, okay, to tell you the truth, I'm having a hell of a time right now. And they're like, okay, got it. Like, both of them are on board with a little leeway and understanding that sometimes it's going to take me a while to get back on the horse. Which, a lot of people probably have that in grad school. It just depends on the degree of, I guess, failure time that you need to recover.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're pretty supportive. I think that's...
Yeah. I'm super lucky. I have lots of really supportive people in my life.
Then if you wanted to talk a little bit more about the stigma.
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 Yeah, so it's definitely, it's real.
Alright, so let's talk about how you see the stigma from the lens of someone who is going through these issues.
Yeah, so there's been times I've been around people and like a commercial for an antidepressant comes on. And
that sad little rolling ball, maybe?
Oh my god, that's so
That's sad.
No,
Why
I
was
think
that
it's
so
so
oft? I don't even know.
I think it was the one with, it's like it's someone and they've just got this cloud over them that's raining the whole time.
Yeah.
They're
which
all
is
about the same,
honestly,
right?
That's what it feels
Um,
like. And they're like, the person was like, what a load of bullshit. Like, just get out of your own head and fix it. And I remember sitting there being like, how?
I'll kill you.
Right.
I will kill
I'm
you.
gonna cold cock you right now.
Yeah.
So there's definitely people that don't either they're not exposed to it in their life, or they don't understand that it's biochemical. It's not. You can't just will yourself to get over it.
Right.
You can't will a bone to heal faster. It's not going to work.
Right.
And so I've just graduated and I've been on the job hunt, and in some of the applications, they want to know, it's like, do you have any disabilities? And in the disabilities is depression. It's like, how are you able to
ask me
legally
this?
ask me that? And like also in the list is like Alzheimer's and like all these other
Yeah, and how
things
is
that
how is
seem like
depression
it's
comparable
not.
to that?
I guess it's a liability for the company.
But they're also not allowed to discriminate.
Yeah.
Right. It's like,
they're-
how is this even
like-
like a questionnaire?
Right. I mean, if it's a disability, there are laws in place that
Yes,
prevent employee discrimination.
Yeah,
right?
and it-
So-
Depression and mental health issues fall well under the Americans with Disability Act, that you can't.
Maybe that's why, so that they know if you've been forward and you said that you have
Yeah.
depression and you go into a spin and you're not productive, they can't fire you
Yeah.
over that.
Maybe, I don't know.
But I don't know, because if you have two equally well qualified applicants, would you hire the one with depression or the one that is completely
it's totally normal.
allegedly
or-
clean?
So
of-
I guess that
Basically, yeah.
means that
Well,
you
yeah.
can't discriminate. You can't choose the one that's
yeah, I mean that's just kind
normal.
of
And you worry
this
that
issue that pops
you
up.
they'll choose the other person because they're more mentally stable,
Exactly.
and they won't have they won't be accountable for that decision.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They won't have to like answer to a judge and be like, oh well.
Well, it was this other
Yeah.
thing that made me.
Right. They can say this person was more qualified or something.
Right.
When you told me that this was on the form, because none of the jobs I applied for yet have had that, at least
Yeah.
not that I've noticed, but maybe
Yeah.
I just breezed through it. I'm like, oh, I'm fine,
Oh,
whatever.
yeah,
I don't even. No, I don't.
I also wonder maybe because you're applying mostly to pharma and industry jobs,
Yeah.
right? I mean, could be a conflict of interest with that kind of stuff?
Only one of the companies I have applied to has had that.
Okay.
The other ones have not.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not apply to that company, so that's probably why.
That's probably why you missed it.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I was totally shocked to be asked that.
Yeah, I think a big part of the stigma too is that everybody likely knows someone who is medicated or is clinically seeking some sort of mental health treatment, but people aren't open about it. I think that's
That's
part of
true.
that's like a
Yeah.
huge part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's in the closet about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
I-
you go around being like, oh, everybody's happy, everybody's normal.
Yeah.
But you don't see that it takes
Meanwhile, everyone's
like some
struggling.
fraction of the population, additional treatment or help or counseling or drugs,
It's like the Facebook syndrome. You only see the happy on people, and you don't realize that there are
Right.
issues
Or the people
underlying.
only on vacation. I don't understand. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody's on vacation except me. How is that possible?
Yeah. So, yeah, I would never.
Because I mean, I had no idea that you had
Yes.
mental trouble until Jason was like, Haley wants to do a mental health
Yeah.
podcast. I was like,
Yeah, same.
okay.
So, yeah, it's people that I trust can know, and now the internet can know.
Trust everyone on the internet.
Oh yeah, how could this possibly go wrong?
Just don't, keep naked photos on your iPhone.
Yeah. I don't use the cloud. So, mostly because I don't know how to do it. But, like, I would never in a million years post, like, on something on Facebook, like, I am having a terrible day, and so on and so forth. Because I guess I've had enough experience with people judging my mental status
Yeah.
in not such a great way.
Yeah.
It's like, you faker, pull yourself together.
Yeah. And to be honest, people that do that kind of stuff on Facebook, I say, I don't want to see your posts anymore. You're killing me
Right,
here.
exactly.
Yeah, like maybe once or twice is fine, but if it's every day, no one
Yeah.
wants to see that.
Yeah.
So.
Right, well, and then that's the problem, because if someone's asking, like, having these comments, like, maybe they're asking for help.
Yeah, and that
And
is
it's
the trouble.
annoying everyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's
That
a
you
line.
feel like you need to hide your bad days.
Right.
Yeah.
But the internet is not the place to go for.
No.
Go find a friend.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you have to go find someone who you can trust and share with them. And
Yeah.
I've been that person for some of my friends. And I have never asked someone for help and had them say, "Dude, f off. Get out of here." This became an
Right.
explicit podcast. Sorry.
I don't know, this
Sorry.
podcast is going to hell anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one I've ever asked for help has said anything to the tune of, "I'm not going to help you. You're being absurd. Get over it." Because you're doing it from a place of vulnerability, and most humans would not tell someone that's coming to them and is suffering to just F off. So that is nice. That I guess it probably depends on who you trust enough to tell your problems to.
So you still believe that? Yeah, it is something that you should sort of keep to yourself and your close friends. I mean, that's the problem, the stigma, right? If you're
Right.
keeping it in,
It's
and
never
people don't
gonna
know
get
that
better.
it's
Right.
there, the stigma is never gonna sort of be squashed.
I think all of my family knows, and pretty much all my close friends that have I've had a reason to talk to about it. It's not like you just barge into the room. Hey, guess what?
Yeah, that's part of it too. I think there's
Ahoy! Double dose day!
I think there's this desire, like, for everybody to just not burden other people with their problems. And I
Yes.
think that's a lot of it. It's like, well, you know, why should I do that to you? It's not fair, like, for you to have to deal with my shit, right?
Well,
So,
I don't know.
how does that,
being a
like, factor into it?
I put myself in the position of whoever I'm asking for help, and most times I do the math and it comes up with, if I knew someone was really hurting, I'd want to, and I could help them, I'd want to help them.
Right.
So it's like your degree of uncomfortable is like 2 on a 1 to 10 scale, but meanwhile the person you're assisting is really falling apart at like a 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's kind of like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But I'm the same person who is also like giving homeless people rides in my car that terrify my husband. It's like, nope, you can't do that. So I think maybe on the edge of too compassionate. So you might have to do your math a little differently.
So you mentioned when we were talking before we started recording, that when you went to go see your counselor or your therapist, psychiatrist, was it like half grads or half the grad students
Yeah.
at university
So
at some point seek help? Or?
Right, so my therapist, and because they have this farm system, I think most of the therapists up on Nassau Street are pretty in tune to what's going on at the university. And there was one day, I was like, how can everyone else at Princeton handle this level of stress? And she was like, half the undergrads are in therapy. It was like, oh, that's how they do it. They have help. Like,
Have help.
yeah, so there's, if you're in this boat, welcome. And there's plenty of other people here, so don't feel like you're all one.
Thanks to Kelly, Nikhil, and our very special guest, Haley. She really has been a lifeguard of mine throughout the years, so I really appreciate her being so open with her experiences. The National Alliance on Mental Illness has declared October 5th through 11th of 2014 Mental Illness Awareness Week. You can find more details at NAMI.org. That's NAMI.org. Do you have any experiences to share? We'd love to talk about it further in the comments on our show notes at phdinprogress.com/16 or /mental health. You can also say hi on Twitter at PhD Podcast or email us at feedback@phdinprogress.com. Finally, if you like the show so far, help us out by sharing with your colleagues and leaving an honest review in the iTunes store. Jua9983 left a great review saying how isolating grad school can be when you're an international student trying to learn a whole new culture, presenting research in a different language, and dealing with the ignorance and arrogance of people. Quote, "So I am glad that I found this podcast when I was struggling through those things, questioning myself and why am I doing this PhD stuff. It is a friendly and helpful podcast. Keep up the good work." Thanks, Jua. That really means a lot to us, and we hope to record an international student episode soon. As always, everything we mentioned on today's show and more resources can be found at phdinprogress.com.
This is a biological disorder.
Right. It is brain chemistry. You would never in a million years tell a diabetic, just get over it. Stop taking your insulin.